Hey there. I'm sorry if I talk a little quiet. I'm in a part of the law school where I don't want to be yelling about the subject matter, but I don't get all that much time alone by myself or with much privacy anyway when I remember that I should probably update for at least my own sake. Um, Today is September 11th, unfortunately. Tough day for everybody in America, and at least. Um, and I've been doing a little bit of self-reflecting and figured that I might as well update a little life update. It's been a bit, at least to document my voice. So that being said, it's the 11th. The 14th puts me at 3 months post-top surgery. I can finally start lifting again, thankfully. I'm going a little stir crazy not being able to do that. I've been going to the gym the last week, I believe, just doing some cardio, getting used to actually getting myself there. Motivation has been difficult, especially when it comes to cleaning up my diet. Being a couch potato is very easy to keep doing, but it's all a process. So one day at a time, I'm getting back in the swing of it. Hopefully I can find myself getting a little bit more comfortable in my own body now that I've had surgery. Sorry if I keep looking over here. I'm looking at the notes that I wrote so I make sure that I actually hit some things to talk about, since I always go blank once I start talking. I wanted to show my results, although I've had this stupid scar tape stuff that they have us use, and I switch back and forth between these two different kinds. One is just itself all silicone, and this one is little sheets that I have to cut. So I have to stick them together with medical tape, which leaves a sticky residue on my chest. So I'm about to show you that, and you're going to see where the cotton from my shirt and sweatshirt have stuck to the residue, just because I am at school and not able to sit there and scrub at that. So ignore that. But this is 3 months post-op. Not too bad. These are the little fuzzy things down here. It's pretty sticky. And my chest looks pretty not bad for not having worked out. Get rid of the double chin though. So since my last update, I have moved back home after being out for 5 years. I'm now 23. I've been out since I was freshly 18 in undergrad, and then I moved into my own apartment after my first semester in the dorms. That's been difficult because my parents have struggled quite a bit with name and pronoun changes. Especially when referring to me in the past. They don't know, do they refer to me as a little boy? Do they, are they insulting me if they say my birth name? Which, it literally is a transition for everybody, so in the moment it catches me off guard and all that, but how do you really go about doing that when you can't really pretend that things were a way that they weren't? I was a little curly-headed girl with ringlets. How do you hide that? So that's been a struggle. It's also been difficult in general with my parents. They've kind of flipped roles. One parent struggled a bit more at first than the other, and now that parent, other than the occasional slip up when, talking really fast or to somebody else quickly, they're on, everything's great. And then my other parent, who was, really supportive and on board from the start, struggles more now, almost as if I just came out. That's difficult for me, trying to feel validation. I tend to look to others for that a lot, so if I'm having a rough time and somebody messes up my name and pronouns, I think the other day was 4 times in 8 hours, And as much as I try to be lenient with that, it's difficult for me because, how do you go about living your life when you're constantly being referred to as something you don't identify as? The whole point of me starting this was to move away from that, and it's difficult to introduce myself to me when I have that constant reminder. That being said, I did move home, so it's difficult to go through old possessions of mine from high school and sort through things and try to also establish that now that I'm back home, I'm not 17 again. I don't have the same likes and interests and whatnot that I did back then. So sorry, there's somebody out there. So that's been tough to have my parents not only used to me back home, but reintroduce to me now and respect me as who I am now, not holding me to who I was. What else? Oh, so I think that, aside from the horrible side effects, which I say horrible, it doesn't look that bad on camera right now, but acne has been horrible for me. I've been doing a lot of facial cleansing things, but you can sort of, not so much in this lighting, see facial hair. I can't wait for that to come in hopes that I don't look so baby-faced anymore, and it's a physical change that my parents and other people will get on board with. Yeah, it's too thin for me to dye it right now. I would just end up dyeing my face a different color, and that would look stupid. It's very soft. You can't really see it much. I'm just tired of people messing up, which, I'm not stupid. I've gone to therapy sessions and realized that their identities are also changing. So, somebody who's a mother of one child, a daughter, is now a mother of a son, and it's difficult to navigate. Just using that as one of the examples, my siblings, my parents, my whoever, they all have to change their identity as well, whether they realize it. And it's just tough when people get defensive, and it's not, I'm sorry, my bad, I messed up, I'll make more of an effort. It very easily gets turned on me, even though I try to make an effort not to really show much of a reaction at this point. I've done the correcting people. I've had other people correct people for me, so it's less embarrassing. And now I'm just at the point where I just try to stay as blank-faced as I can, and people catch on to it themselves, but then they spin it on me, and I have to get used to them messing up because they've known me for 23 years or however long, and they knew me as one thing and now it's the other, and they're struggling, but they are my insert whoever, best friend, relative, whatever. So I just need to get used to them messing it up. And I don't think people realize that if I give each person that messes up a hall pass to mess it up for however long it takes them to get on board, that's every person I associate with every day, that it's suddenly okay that they're getting everything wrong. And that's like, there's really no comparison, but the only thing I can think of off the cuff is that's somebody calling you by your brother or sister's name instead of yours all the time, and you're like, it's no big deal the first time, but then they never get your name right, and they know they get it wrong, but they just keep doing it. Yeah, that's not really the best example, but that's all I got. So aside from that, I have officially come out at the law school now. I did it on Facebook at the end of last semester when we were in finals, so I didn't really see anybody. But now I have a new ID, a new email. I'm in the system differently. My legal documents have not all been changed over. I had some difficulty with the judge in my county who was just giving me a really hard time with things, so that has dragged out for the last 3 months as well. But I did get my order granted. I'm just waiting on my certified copies for things, so then I can move forward with my driver's license and social security and all that. From the last time, not only did I move home, but that meant that my relationship I was in had ended as well. it's been kind of mild for a breakup, I guess. It's a little tricky because there wasn't really like one breaking point, one closure sense. It was just we were growing apart over time, and I was figuring out my identity while she was figuring out hers, and things weren't really meshing up. And I definitely acknowledge that being on T has contributed to that a lot. The first thing everybody told me would change was mental components, and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, but really they have. I don't feel so desperate to stay sedimentary where I am. I'm not so afraid of change like I used to be. My self-perception is different. Not saying I have self-confidence, because I still have dysphoria and I'm still self-conscious about the same things, if not more than I used to be, because I feel like I'm striving to be perceived by society a certain way and fit in with certain things, but there's a barrier of doing so. But I now realize that my desires in life are different, my goals, things I look for in a partner. And then just aside from that, other people say I seem more comfortable and happier. I feel, from the most part, a little bit more confident. I don't feel like I'm a big walking secret anymore, which is probably what that is. That's a lot off my shoulders. But it's still difficult to become accustomed to emotions and hormone changes, everything. I used to be very emotional. I would cry if I got mad. I was very sensitive, and now I'm still sensitive, but it's more of getting accustomed to going from never having a moment to myself to having all this time alone now and spare time in the day and not knowing what to do with it, so I automatically turn it inward and feel lonely. But over time, I think that will be a lot more beneficial. I can discover who I am again and my own interests without being so influenced by others. Puberty itself is really kicking my butt right now. People excuse you when you're 13, 14 and you're sleeping for 11 hours a day, but I just can't get a hang of it. I'm 23 and I have obligations and jobs and places to be, and I can't sleep all day. But it could get worse, I guess. I just talked about that stuff. So yeah, I'm always tired. I guess that's part of being an adult, but on top of that, I have like a constant 3 p.m. crash. I have coffee now consistently in the morning, and if I don't have something else around 3, it's 4 o'clock right now, I just had my crash hit me right before making this video, then I have no motivation more than I already don't. So, which makes it tough when I want to go to the gym and I have homework and assignments and places to drive and things to get done. And I've been trying to watch my eating lately. I just had a weekend with my family, so I was pretty lenient on that. We were camping. There wasn't really much available anyway, but for the most part, during the week, I try to watch what I'm eating. I'm trying to shed some weight, some body fat, which I think will help me look a bit more like I would like, a little bit more masculine when I have more muscle definition. So, yeah, the crash and the acne are, I don't want to say the worst things. There's one component I'll get to next, which is the worst thing for me so far, but wrapping up a mental state, I definitely feel more of a pull towards the more masculine things, which is probably more of a mental trying to fit in component. Excuse me, I don't know what my deal is. But things like sports, I'm on a fantasy football league now. I never had an interest in football in high school. I hated it. But since then I've played rugby, so that could be a part of it. Guns, motorcycles, sex, cars, all that stuff. To a degree I had an interest in most of those, but being on T has definitely reshaped that, especially when it comes to being intimate with somebody and allowing myself to be comfortable. But that does bring me to the biggest con I would say right now is that people warned me when I got top surgery that I would then likely shift to bottom dysphoria, which 100%, I never had much of. I mean, I wished that I was born anatomically correct for, my preferences, but I never really thought I would follow through with surgery. And now I'm fairly certain. Like, I've seen pictures of other masculine trans guys, and it doesn't seem like me. I still feel like I don't identify on that level, even though, they're farther along with their transition and more masculine looking than I am. So it's difficult, and that discomfort makes it even more difficult in regards with sex. I get compared to my brother a lot because he's 14 and we're kind of the same point in puberty. And then being around one side of my family, because there's a sense of like hyper masculinity, like, you gotta man up, and men don't use straws, and men don't sit this way or talk that way or have interests in this, and if you are, you like this, or you drink this alcohol. Or one of the big things this weekend was an insult where it was just said, well, basically an attack on masculinity was, he's got a vagina. And not to me personally, it wasn't about me, thank God. But that was an insult from one cis male to another cis male, or talking about another, and I'm standing right there. And part of me just sits there and scratches my head, like, do they even realize what they're saying? Which probably not. My family is not very up to date with politically correct things, nor do they really care. That's definitely a barrier. I'm the educator a lot, but it a lot of the times is not worth over explaining things or getting into an argument or a debate or what have you. So that pretty much wraps up everything I can think of at the moment. I keep saying every video. I tell myself I'm not going to, but I do. I get nervous because I don't know who's going to end up seeing this video, I think. Nor do I know if I'm talking loud enough, because the door is literally right there to the main hallway. So anybody that's here can tell what I'm talking about. So, I guess that's it for now.